All right, we're back here live once again in the Founders Club. Now joining me up here on the stage in the post-game show here is Tri-City Americans head coach Rick Kozuback. Coach Kozuback, great victory tonight against Kamloops Blazers.
Yeah, it was a super game for us. I think it was a lot more than what we thought it was going to be. I guess we actually felt Kamloops coming in here might be a little bit, I mean, even though they needed to win one game to cinch first place, we sort of thought they're coming in here and they may not be quite as excited. And then when we got into that first period, we realized they came to play, and I thought our guys really rose to the occasion. I thought we had some really good efforts from some guys who, throughout haven't really played up to their potential. Tonight, I think so many guys came through and did their jobs. We had some good line matchups. I know that Lindsay's had a really good game. His line matched up really well against McGowan's line, and actually, I think they got like 2 or 3 goals. I think those guys were +4. And then Barnes's line was able to keep Shazowski in check, and Levin's, his line did a heck of a job on Lenny Berry. I mean, they knocked them all over the rink. So it was a good game for us, and it was a good positive, hopefully it's a good positive step and a good stroke for going into tomorrow's game and hopefully for the playoffs.
Ask you some questions about your coaching strategies tonight. Of course, you did put the Barnes line with Rennie and Nibs out there against Blue Thunder tonight. They did hold them down quite a bit, and the Blue Thunder line did see a lot of ice time. Were you trying to keep those guys out there and then keep them in check with the good, tough forechecking abilities of Steve Rennie and Calvin Nibs?
Yeah, for the most part, we felt going into the first period we were just going to roll with anybody, and then as we got into the period and it looked like it was getting tight, then we decided we'd have to try to match up. Now, usually I don't like to do that, but tonight was just one of those games where my guessing strategy wasn't working very well, so I thought we'd better try something that looks a little more tactful. So we put Barnes out against those guys. We thought our best match would have McNutt's line up against McGowan, and it was the best match we had. And the other 2 lines just did their job. Our defensemen played reasonable. I think they didn't play as good as we'd like them to play, but they played reasonable.
What do you think now with the addition of Dave Shazowski? First time you've had a chance to see him, and he's back, and he scored a goal tonight. Had a little NHL. You could see the NHL that was written all over him. He had a couple of cross-checking penalties, which are known up there in the show. And he also, I like the way that he set up in the right circle. He would be far out from the net, and that shows you the type of experience. He doesn't get too carried away. He likes to sit back, and when the opportunity's there, he takes a shot at it.
Oh, he's a tremendous player. The thing that he's fighting right now, like many players fight, I think we can look back at Olaf Kolzig and Stu Barnes and think back about when those 2 guys came back, how difficult it was for them to make the adjustment coming down. And I think in his situation it's even more apparent because he's been up there all year. And making that more difficult is about the last 6 weeks. He really hasn't played very much. He's been practicing but not even getting into the lineup. So, coming back here, it's a fairly tough adjustment for him. First of all, he's not really in great shape. Second of all, he's not used to the pace, the slower pace, and the less crispness in passing, and probably obviously the lesser skilled player. So it's an adjustment for him. But when he gets cranked up, give it another week and watch out when it comes in the playoffs.
The Ams are now 32-8-2 on the season when they've scored 5 or more goals. Another high performance tonight offensively. This is one thing that you had said earlier in the season, that you just cannot keep going and putting in 8, 10, 11 goals every game and coming out with the wins, but the Americans have been able to do that as of late.
Well, part of the reason we're having the ability to do that is our power play is still staying on the mark. It's not maybe as effective as it was earlier, but it's still staying close. And our uneven strength, and we play man short. Like tonight, we get 2 uneven, man short goals, which really helps our offensive output. And then 5-on-5, we can struggle away, and if we get the right matchups and catch a defenseman on the other team that maybe is a little weaker, and we get our right guys out against them, that's worked in our favor. I still don't think that we can give up 5 goals a game and expect to do well in the playoffs. I think against teams like Seattle, if you give up 5, you probably won't score 6. And similarly against Kamloops, you won't probably score 6 or 7 in Kamloops and win. You might score 2 or 3.
Ole now improves to 20-16-3. Had another great performance tonight. Do not have the official shots on goal in the evening. He's now 4-5 against Kamloops. He seems to play very well against this team. As fact is, I believe that the Americans are the only team this season now that has beaten Kamloops 4 times. Seattle, I believe, has beaten them 3. So the Americans play well when Ole's in the net. 9 out of 10 times so far this year that he started in goal for you against the Loops.
Well, this was a key match for him, too. He knew coming in that Shazowski was in the lineup, had scored a hat-trick last night. Lenny Berry had scored a hat-trick last night. So he knows he's going to face some pretty credible shooters, and if he's going to make us, if we're going to be able to win a game, he's going to make us a good team. And tonight I thought that he made some key saves at the right time. kept us in it, was alive, very talkative, very emotional, kept yelling to our defensemen, which is pretty critical against a good team because they keep moving and they've got such a good offensive skill. They get open a lot. And Ole was, I thought, really sharp. And if he could play like that, continue to play like that, then hopefully we're going to have a good run going into the playoffs and maybe a chance in the playoffs.
Tony?
Yes,
The Americans outshot Kamloops tonight 47-42.
All right, 47-42 is the official tally on that. Coach, one of the things I want to ask you about, and I know that it's been one of your pet peeves so far this season, is all the stick work. Once again, Kyle Reeves, he ends up tonight with a cut above his eye. Is going to require some stitches to get him put back together. But again, we looked over on the bench, and all you could do is shake your head. Are you past words now?
Well, you know, it's hard to, yeah, I mean, we're at a point where I don't really even care that much anymore because as long as nobody gets hurt, but it seems like we're not going to get an infraction go our way, or very rarely do we get an infraction called our way. You know, some of those things, the 2-minute ones, we got, I think, one on Steve Jakes, Shazowski got Steve Jakes early in a period. It might have been the first period. He got a 2-minute infraction for which, you know, it seems like when we get something like that, it's a 5. Definitely on Kyle Reeves. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the guy's bleeding, and it's pretty obvious that he didn't cut himself. And you know, I mean, he didn't go near a mirror, and all of a sudden he comes off the ice bleeding, and there isn't even a call. Like, it's a little bit unusual. I'm not saying that maybe a call was deserved. Just a little unusual. A guy can get cut, and nothing happened.
Exactly. Tom, you have a couple of comments here before we let Coach go down to his meeting?
Was it a question passed along to me during the commercials? I thought it was a good one. What was required to get Shazowski back onto the team this late in the season, trade deadlines being passed and whatnot? How are they able to get him back?
Well, I mean, in order to be able to get him back, number one, they had to have them on their active roster as of February the 10th. So I'm sure that they must have been in communication with the people in New York, and they knew that he was at a position in time where he may be available. I think the option was made to him that he could either A, go to Springfield in the American Hockey League, or he could come back home and play in Kamloops. The decision, I think, was an easy one when you consider that Springfield will not make the playoffs. His season would have been over very quickly. He's got a chance to play in a Memorial Cup and finish off his junior career. So they did a pretty smart thing. Obviously, they kept in very close touch with everybody, knew he was going to be available, left the card open for him, left the spot open for him, kept him on the roster, and then when this happens, you know, he's available. That's the sign of a good organization, is when they're on top of things like that, and it makes their team that much better.
All right, quickly, a question.
Does your throat hurt after these kind of games?
Yeah, actually, it hurts quite a bit. I don't know why, but
yeah.
How do you think the team played tonight?
I thought we played, you know, reasonably well. I think that we defensively let in too many goals. As I said before, we can't keep playing where we let in 5-6 goals a game and expect to win the real key matchups as we get down to the last part of the season into the playoffs. But other than that, I mean, I think we played against Kamloops. You know, we're going to make mistakes. They force you so hard. We're going to make some errors. Thank goodness we just scored more goals than they did.
All right, one more question.
Two more.
Two more, okay.
What do you think of getting hit in the head with the puck the other game?
Well, the puck was
not quite in my head. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss an object quite as large as this, but it didn't quite get me on the head. It got me on the chest, but it's, I guess, you deserve what you get sometimes.
Yeah, they were blinded by the cool air, I think.
Guy,
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, I have two quick questions here for you. Why didn't Brad Loring play tonight? And my little boys, Brandon and Andrew, want to know what kind of gum you chew.
The first question, Brad Loring. Really, tonight was a game where what we did was we matched up lines, and the first period we had every indication that we were going to play 4 lines until the game got really tight, and then we decided we were going to have to shift and match lines. So if they don't play their 4th line, unfortunately we can't put our 4th line in. We can, but we didn't. We chose not to. We wanted to match up and stay even strength with the guys who were having success with. And we didn't want to put our younger guys out against Barry, Huber, and Needham, or Shazowski's line. It's just a little bit, it's asking too much to expect them to be able to play strong against them. The kind of gum I chew, thanks to my good friend, Doublemint, right?
All right, and that's Jeff Folks back there with the camera. Hey, Coach, 2 quick points before we let you get down to that meeting. One is that the recognition of Brian Sakic as the Tri-City Americas representative for the WHL Player of the Year.
You know, Brian has been, since his acquisition here, has been just a real key performer for us. I think without him, our power play, I know without him, our power play would be maybe high 20s as far as effectiveness, 20%, 25% maybe, as a result of his ability to handle the puck, to see the ice as well as he does, and to make great passes. You know, I think we're sitting at 35 or 36%. He's just been a real solid performer for us. You know, even strength. He's a great passer, very unselfish player, and thinks a lot of his teammates. And because of that, you know, we look at him as being our key performer at this point in the season. He's played a lot of games with us, scored the most points of anybody that we have, and really helped us get where we are right now.
Tomorrow night, you take off on the bus, head up to Seattle, and really, you would like to show Seattle that since we are going to meet you in the playoffs, we want to let you know that we can win up here in Seattle.
Well, I hope we have a good game. We've come real close and a couple times, and particularly of late, we think we played reasonably well in Seattle. This is our last game, of course. We feel we're due for a win, but only if we play well enough to get the win. So, going in there, we're gonna open her up and hope that the refereeing is a little bit in our favor and we get a few breaks. Our key is to play physical, and we're going to go right at them in the very beginning and see what happens. All right, and of course you can catch that here on AM 1340 KTCR. We go on the air with the pregame show at 5:30. Coach, thanks a lot. Good game tonight. I know you got a team meeting, and we'll let you get on out of here, and we will catch you tomorrow night in Seattle. All right. We'll go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Coach Rick Kozuback, we appreciate. Tom Lathan, of course, right here. Kirk Williamson across the way, working the board over there. Again, the final score, the Tri-City Americans defeat Kamloops tonight here at the Coliseum, 8-5. I'm Tony Ott. Thanks again for listening, and good night.